What's up, Buttercup? I'm Pam Barnes, marketing expert.
And I'm Hannah Cox, business strategist.
And this is the Go Getter Gals podcast,
where everyday gals grow together and you'll find resources to help you grow personally and professionally.
Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Pam Barnes.
And I'm Hannah Cox.
And today we're going to be talking about celebrating your wins. I'm getting super excited about this one because as women, Hannah, me and you have talked about this many, many times. We do not celebrate our wins like we should.
No, I think, and I mean, I feel like everybody does this, but I feel like sometimes when you're a woman who is a business owner, there's this like sense of urgency to succeed. So like you're just pushing through and like a win doesn't feel like a win until you hit the finish line.
Right, exactly. So Hannah, when's the last time you celebrated a win?
Oh, well, it's been a while. I definitely preach the importance of celebrating wins to my clients and celebrate a lot of other people's wins. But it has been a while since I've stepped back to appreciate my accomplishments and celebrate them. So I don't know when the last time it was that I did that. What about you?
Well, because my husband where's my brain? Well, because my husband decided to join the military, there you go, ladies. There's my brain. I have not been focusing on anything other than surviving. So,
which you should celebrate. You survived.
I did survive. I did. Yes, we are pushing through day by day. But my business has grown exponentially during that whole process. And honestly, all I could think about was my husband and making sure he was taken care of and he was happy because I'm an ex-military as well myself. So I know the struggles and the stress, and we're trauma bonding now. It's great. I love it so much. Not that it's traumatic, but there's things that you get from it and experiences, and it's really cool to be able to share those experiences. So I've been focusing a lot on that my business has been growing and I haven't had time and made the time to just sit down and be like, this is where I'm at now compared to where I was at 3 months ago. Like, oh my gosh, take a minute. I should probably take myself out to eat and take myself out to go get a nice outfit.
Right. When was the last time that you did that though?
Oh, probably 6 months.
Yeah, that's too long. It's too long. I feel like I want to challenge people to find something to celebrate every month. I talk a lot to my clients about goal setting and like creating what I call milestones for, the plans that they have for their business. And one of the reasons why I do that is so that there are measurable points of completion that they can celebrate. And so, and that's the smallest one is a 1 month period. So I always encourage people to celebrate something at least once a month.
That is good. That is good. So Hannah, what really counts as a win? Like what would we categorize for the listeners? What counts as a win for us?
Anything can be a win. So when I think about what counts as a win, I know a lot of people's gut is like, oh, well, when I make a certain amount of money, or when I win this award, or when I launch this product, that is when I should celebrate something. But I think that, to your point about what you've been going through these past couple of months, the emotional wins are important too. Being able to say, I made it through this period that was difficult, or I learned this new skill that I guess a lot of people know, but I didn't know it. And so I want to celebrate that I learned something new. Or even my favorite is like the win of holding strong to a boundary or allowing yourself to rest. Because a lot of people don't consider that wins. Some people don't even consider that a necessity, and it really is.
Yeah, some women, I hear this, and I'm one of them, see that as selfish.
Yeah.
Like I'm being selfish for doing this because we're givers, right? We're supposed to be the ones that put other people above ourselves. And then when we put ourselves above others, it's like, oh, no. I don't know
Right.
about you, but I have that internal voice inside of myself that's like, who do you think you are? Calm down, woman.
Oh, yeah, and that's definitely a muscle to, like, get used to, calming yourself down and being like, "Listen, I deserve if other people deserve rest, I deserve rest. If other people deserve boundaries, I deserve boundaries," and that's why I consider that a win, is because so many women, specifically, will feel like they are doing something bad and they're not. They should celebrate that they chose themselves. So yeah, of
Yeah.
course, win the awards, get the secure those big opportunities, make that money and celebrate it, but also just celebrate that you are pushing forward and making progress and prioritizing yourself too.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Girl, that hit a nerve. Oh, I'm tearing up over here. Um, I really believe that as women, we need to remind ourselves that this is our story.
Mhm.
And men too, like men too. As individuals, we need to remind ourselves, especially the ones that are very giving individuals. And I feel like those that are very giving individuals, they struggle. I'm one of them. Struggles to celebrate themselves and celebrate their wins. And also, here's another really good question, Hannah. Who do you share your wins with?
That was what I was about to ask you because I know that when I think about or when I talk to people who say that they struggle to celebrate their wins, I automatically assume that at some point in their lives they celebrated a win and were met with a negative reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Whether, you were celebrating something, let's say you're a little kid and you're screaming, you're yelling, you're like, "Yay, I did this thing." You're the definition of celebrate, and an adult tells you to be quiet, calm down.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the beginning stages of that. But then you also realize that, as you get older, sometimes you share wins with the people who you believe to be your support group and your cheerleaders, and they react negatively. Maybe they don't directly tell you, calm down, be quiet, but maybe they're jealous of your success. Maybe they react in a way that makes you feel like you've done something wrong and you don't want to upset that person with your success, so you're going to be quiet.
Yes. And it's really hard to combat, I don't want to say combat that, but handle that in the moment. Because we're talking about like verbally, hey, that's enough, but or wow, yay, when people are like that to
Yeah.
you. But really, the thing that gets me is the facial expressions. When I see someone else's face sink when I'm talking to them about like what's going on in my life, I instantly want to stop talking about me and just start lifting them up because I'm not sharing my wins trying to make anyone feel bad. I'm sharing my wins to help you realize what you're capable of and what you can do because I'm a country gal from Lynchburg, Tennessee. Like my mom's family was quite poor and my dad's family, my dad's dad basically didn't raise him. He had to raise himself. So it's not like a triumph success story. Like I have worked my butt off to get here and to see other people have that defeat in their face. I'm like, no, 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 no. So that's one of the struggles that I have when it comes to sharing my story, um, and my successes and my wins is because I don't want someone to think, oh my gosh, she's so amazing. Like
Mhm.
I can never compete with that because I was there in 2019. I was exactly there. I walked in that room of women at Beauties and Business and I was so intimidated. Like, there is no way in heck that I am anywhere near the same league as these women.
Right.
so, so yeah, celebrating the wins and talking about that stuff. Like, who do you share that with is really important because once you start seeing the facial expressions shift and change, all you have to do, what I do is I lift them up with me and I help encourage them and help them find ways and paths and um, strength and courage and all that stuff and bring them with me. And some people won't want that. Some of them you have to drag them kicking and screaming.
I want to challenge that mindset though, Pam, because it's not your responsibility to uplift people when they feel uncomfortable with your achievements. Because when you're sharing and celebrating your wins with people who you love and who you would hope would be happy for you, you're not bragging, which is kind of what it sounds when you're like, oh, I talk about my wins and their face falls. It makes it sound like you are like shoving it in their face. Look at what I did. I'm a winner, and you're bragging, but you're not bragging. You are, it's about validation. It's about acknowledging or having acknowledgement that you did achieve something difficult and you put in that work and you did it. And you want the people in your life who you believe love you and support you to see it and acknowledge that that happened. And I don't think, especially to our listeners who are adults, I don't think that you should feel responsible for another adult's emotions. And so, like saying that, obviously you want to uplift your friends, but I don't think that you should take time away from your moment to do that. You can always do that later.
True, true. Again, it's that givingness in me. I'm like,
It
I'm
is
the type
a
of person. I'm the type of person where if I'm winning, I'm ready to bring you with me. Growth through
Mhm.
connection, ladies, gals, that is me. Like that is me 110%. Like it is in my being.
Yeah.
um,
And you can still do that though, Pam. Just don't take time away from this whole episode is about celebrating yourself, not uplifting others. That doesn't mean you can't, but this episode is about that moment for you as a person, as an individual, as a business. You know, when you are celebrating that, and this goes to not just business owners. Let's say that you're a stay-at-home mom and you have been working with your child to achieve something that maybe they've been struggling with, and you've put in the time and the effort and the resources, and they do this thing, and you want to tell your mom friend, oh my gosh, my child just did this thing. You don't want to feel like you have to worry about if their child is doing a thing. Is their
mm,
child achieving those milestones? You want to be able to celebrate and scream from the rooftop that you've put in this effort, you've achieved this thing, and you need people to hear it and acknowledge that it happened. And then you can move on to being like, how can I help you feel the way I just felt? But that's how
mm,
you figure out who you share your wins with and who you don't. Because there are people who I love dearly who I don't share my wins with, and they still are really important people to me. And they're no less of an important person just because I don't share specific wins with them, because maybe they have an insecurity or they are in a rough place right now. Sometimes it's a temporary solution that you don't share things with people, but there are some people you just don't share with. And when you find that out, that doesn't mean you cut those people out of your lives. It just means you find a group of women like go-getter gals, or just you find your group, your people that you can run to and say, I want to celebrate. I need the world to know I accomplished this thing. I set a boundary with my mother-in-law. My child did this thing. My business hit this milestone, and I need to celebrate it.
good, 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 good. Yes. I love that you brought up Go Getter Gals. And again, we're going to talk about Go Getter Gals all the time because gosh, I'm going to start crying. Like, Go Getter Gals is just, it has changed my life. Beauties in Business and Go Getter Gals have changed my life. Um, I texted you, what, 2 days ago, the success that I had going on. And I was like, I just got to get it out.
I'm so happy for you too. I was so happy in that moment. You know, I had my own things that were going on, and that made my day to be able to read something like that. And that's what you need. You need people who are like, no matter what's going on in their lives, they're not going to dull your moment. They're going to read it and it's going to actually make them feel better.
Yes, and it is possible, ladies. It is possible. And here's another thing to think about when it comes to talking about your wins and your successes is it gives other people permission to name theirs
Mhm.
because nobody really wants to feel left behind. Um, And when we share in Go Getter Gals and we share just me and Hannah or me and Michael or me, Sharonica, we just kind of just talk about our lives. And just when you call your girlfriend, you're like, hey, guess what? You know what I mean? Like doing that, it gives us permission and that safe, I don't really like saying safe place, but that place of vulnerability to be like, hey, this is what I've done. What have you got going on? It's almost
Mhm.
like you have that question of what do I have going on in your head when someone else is talking about what they've got going on. So make sure you think about stuff like that. And another thing I want you to think about too is if you don't celebrate your wins, what happens?
Mm.
Like for me, if I don't celebrate my wins, I'm just grinding it out. And then you've got burnout. I go into survival mode, like I just talked before with my husband and everything going on with him. I was celebrating all of his wins and all his successes because basic training is hard. And he's 40 years old, almost 40 years old. He's 39. And this man just went through basic, and I can't even run a block. Like, come on now. So I'm over here, like, just celebrating him and so excited for him that I have just been in survival mode for 7.5 weeks. That, yeah, you're right. I do need to go celebrate myself. And I am going to do that for sure.
Well, and I want to talk more about what you lose when you don't celebrate
Mm-hmm.
because like for you, you were mentioning, well, you just keep going, you burn yourself out. But I think it
Mm-hmm.
can be even bigger than that. I think the other things that you lose, your confidence, your
Mm-hmm.
ability to measure success. You
Ooh,
go numb to what you're succeeding at when you just choose to ignore it. You know, you create an atmosphere of being afraid to succeed because you're establishing all of these negative associations with success that you will never succeed. It affects your mental health. It affects your relationships with other people. And it does affect your ability to actually accomplish your goals when you don't celebrate your wins.
that is true. Do you want to say that last sentence again? That's really good.
Oh, I don't know what I said.
It was so good. Everybody rewind.
It's, I was like possessed by the coach inside of me that was just like,
Oh
oh,
my
it
goodness.
affects your ability to actually succeed when you forget to celebrate yourself, something like that.
Yes, that's it. It really does. It really does because you have no idea what success is.
Mhm.
You have no idea what success is to you. And that is something that you need to really hone in on. And I hope that that is something big you take from this is what is a win to you? To you. Sometimes I love Jordan Peterson. I love him so much. He says stuff like lower your expectations,
Yeah.
especially when you're going through a really hard time. The reason why you feel like you're failing so much is because your expectations are just too high.
Yeah. Oh my
Because
gosh. That makes me think of James Clear and his book Atomic Habits, where he's talking about if
mm,
you want to be a person who goes to the gym, put your shoes on in the morning. That's
yeah,
the win. If all you do is put your shoes on, that's your measurement of success. It's not actually going to the gym. Well, then you put your shoes on, and then the measurement is that you got in your car. Even if you don't go to the gym, you succeeded that day because you put your shoes on and you got in your car.
yeah.
Being able to lower. I'll say this: if you don't know whether or not something is worth celebrating, if it required courage, if it
Mm.
required healing, if it required effort, or it required you to grow in some way, that's worth celebrating.
Or if it mentally taxed you,
Yeah.
if it
If it was
mentally
difficult,
taxed
yeah.
you.
If it was
Oh,
challenging. So I think that I want to talk more about why we don't do it. We touched on it a little bit at the beginning. We talked about like as a woman specifically. sometimes it's hard because we don't want to be too much. We don't want to be too loud. We don't want to hurt other people's feelings. But why? Why did that happen? What's going on in the world that makes women feel like they have to be quiet?
This one's going to hit a nerve because when I hear the words together, too much, ladies, I'm sorry, I cry. That's what I do, and it's been a stressful few months. um, Too much. We don't want to be too much. We don't want to talk too much. We don't want to be too successful. The thing with that is, as a child, like I love my parents, and please understand, and I hope they hear this one day. Um, I was a very hyper child. I was in everything. I talked all the time. My emotions were like this. Like my coach with color guard called me a roller coaster because I would be up one second and I would be down the next. Like I bawled because we won our competition. Like what, and then I'm like, but I could have done better. Like that was the self-esteem that I had that I grew out of. Like I had to work that muscle because my self-esteem was so low, ladies. Like when I'm telling you, I walked into that room and I felt like a little bitty tiny ant. I'm not even kidding. Like I felt like I was a molecule compared to those women that I was in the room with. And it was because I took it internally so much that I was the problem because I was too much to handle as a kid, too emotional, talked too much, was in too many things. I did too much. Like I moved, which I didn't do too much, but this is what I was told. Um, I was the type of kid that I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do because I wanted to do everything, like everything. And I didn't really celebrate my wins a whole lot because if I did, I'd get really excited and people would tell me to stop. They would tell me to sit down. They would tell me to stop talking. Um, and I just internalized that as I'm the problem. Now, was I 100% not the problem? Probably not. But I was a kid.
Right.
I was a kid. And I had a lot of competition growing up. There was a girl, I told a story before. There was a little girl, her name was Katie. And second and third grade, like she stole a jacket because I had a jacket like her. She was a really popular girl. And another thing that happened is I did like this hold bar thing where you like hold, and I held for like longer than everyone in the school. Well, she made it a point because I got excited about it. She made it a point to beat me, and she beat me by 1 second. Like, oh my gosh, talk about just getting destroyed. And of course, I'm in like second grade and I am bawling because it was my one win. I finally had a win and I wasn't good enough. And I shared it with the wrong people and I wasn't celebrated anymore. I got told I wasn't good enough by her, that she was better. You know what I mean? So it's one of those we're taught, or at least I was, and if the listeners resonate with this, I was taught at a very young age that I shouldn't celebrate my wins. It's not humbling to do so. It's humbling to sit in silence.
Yeah.
And so that's what I learned. And in doing that, that was a great contributor to my self-esteem, a very big contributor to my low self-esteem, extremely low self-esteem. I apologized all the time, which I still apologize. It's just in my DNA. Okay. My mama is a Southern Belle from Lynchburg, Tennessee, and she says honey doll and dear, and she apologizes at the drop of a hat. So I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get rid of that, but it's the apologize. I used to apologize all the time. I used to silence myself. I didn't speak for the first 3 to 4 months that I went to Beauties in Business. That's why this group is so important. That's why connecting with women is so important, because you see what other women are doing and you see what this in here is telling you, who you really are. I was living a facade of who I was, this quiet, not too much girl. That was so miserable, man. I was miserable. And it took me 3 months of seeing these women and hearing their stories and hearing their struggles and their triumphs to be like, oh, I'm not a hot mess express all alone.
Yeah.
Oh, I am worthy of holding my own space. Hey gals, if you love what you're hearing and you want to get more involved, because trust me, I love Go Getter Gals. I'm obsessed with it. If you love this podcast as much as we do, all you have to do is go on our Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, and we're under Go-Getter Gals. We are going to have all of our episodes on the podcast link on our website at go-gettergals.com. Thank you for allowing me to interrupt for just a second. We look forward to continuing to help you grow. Without further ado, here's the Go Getter Gals podcast.
When you brought up humbling and like being humble, that touched a nerve for me a little bit too, because I can remember being just a naturally quiet girl. So I was like the opposite. I was very calm and quiet and to myself around adults. And I think that they trained me to be that way because they found that behavior pleasant. And so, whether they meant to or not, I would always be praised. They would go out of their way to praise me for being so well behaved, so quiet, such a good girl. And I think that I don't think anyone ever meant anything bad or malicious in doing that. I think that was just them acknowledging the shy little girl, but it just really enforced that, like, oh, people like it when you're quiet, when you are invisible, when you sit silently and you don't make a fuss and you don't do. People like me because I'm that way. I'm going to be that way more. But on the inside, I was a very competitive person, but not, I mean, yeah, I did play some sports when I was younger, and yeah, I was competitive that way, but I compared myself to others so that I could always find a way to make sure that I was the best at what I was doing. And, that does go into like the trap of comparison being the thief of joy. And I think, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but like social media being people's highlight reels, and you can't look at what other people are doing online because then you're going to make yourself miserable. But they're not showing the full journey. They're just showing the celebrations. And
Yes.
so, yeah, as a little girl, even it was like a dangerous mix of be quiet. People like you better when you're quiet and you're invisible, and also make sure that you're the best. Make sure everyone always looks upon you in a pleasant way. So you have to make the highest grades, and you have to be quiet, and you have to do everything the best. And I think that is the childhood, I don't want to say trauma, the childhood experience that shaped me as a person who doesn't always celebrate wins, because I don't find it important, because I've always associated being humble and quiet with being the type of person that other people like. And I always wanted to be liked.
Yes, I think we all do. I
Yeah.
think that's such a beautiful thing. And you were talking about your parents and needing to be quiet and stuff like that. Here's the thing to think about too, because we all have our childhood things. Like I was yelled at. We were yelling family. We were a very yelling family. And it's so funny because my neighbors, both of my neighbors, we had one like right beside us and one across the street, and they did exactly the same thing. And it was so funny because when I got with my husband, he was like, why do you yell so much? And I'm like, doesn't everybody yell? Like, is that like what? And he was like, no. And then when we moved into my childhood home and he had the neighbors there, they yelled. And he was like, oh, I get it.
Wow, I see. That's why you think everybody yells, because everyone on this block yells.
Everyone, like everyone, you would hear Donette and Louie and Edna and Curtis. And then my mom and my dad, and everybody would yell at the kids. We'd yell at each other. Like that's just how we expressed our emotions. And my husband's family is very passive, very quiet. So it was very hard to blend in that for sure. But I'm bringing this up because, you know, you said something that was really good. We're surviving, right? We're trying to be liked, we're trying to fit in, but we're surviving. So
Yeah.
we transform ourselves to be able to survive and be part of the group.
Yeah. Well, we learn subconsciously or not what people are accepting and what people don't like. Body language and words of affirmation really
Mm-hmm.
do shape who you are and how, you know, I feel like another thing that I've noticed as an adult is like the fear that I'm going to somehow jinx my success if I celebrate too early. So, when do you celebrate? When do you keep quiet and when do you celebrate? And the answer to that, in my opinion, is it's better to celebrate too early than to forget to celebrate at all. In fact, have
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 or 4 celebrations for the same thing. It doesn't matter. Celebrate it. I think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if scientifically, like it's good for your brain. It's good for your mental health. You know, celebrate that you got up out of bed this morning when you didn't want to. Who else is gonna, I mean, celebrate that for yourself. Okay, let's talk about that. What does celebrating actually look like?
Yes, I was going to bring that up because that is, yeah, we really need to nail on that one. Nail the head on that one.
Well, because I was just then describing success not being public or loud. That was like I was describing a very private moment of like, I got out of bed this morning. So how do you celebrate that? And then also how and when do you celebrate with others? I know we talked about who you celebrate with, who you share those with. So what does celebrating look like for you, Pam?
It's transitioned and moved before when I was getting my confidence up. So please understand if you are a listener that has difficulties with confidence. I did that. And just tell yourself privately, even if it's internal, because it took a while for me to get comfortable listening to my own voice and recording myself. One of the things that you can do to build your confidence, ladies, is it works beautifully. Just pull up TikTok and do those funny little memes and all that stuff, but just save it in draft. Don't even publish it. You know what I mean? Find you. That's how I found me, was through TikTok, watching all these other people doing all these things and building my confidence by just mimicking and doing those little funny, corny things, you know, and me and the kids would do them together. Like it was just great. But, anyways, celebrating the wins of just quietly, I did that. And then now, what I do, thanks to Go Getter Gals, is I text you, or I text Sharonica, or I text Michael, or I'll text Michelle, part of the leadership. And sometimes I'll even talk to Cami, who's a Go Getter Gal, or I'll talk to Miss April, or just so many. It just helps to be able to be part of that group that's all about growth through connection, because it gives me permission to be like,
Yeah.
hey, this is what I got going on, and I just need to have someone hear that and to be
Yeah.
happy for me. Because right
Yeah.
now I'm in survival mode and I don't know how to be happy for me. But that's another.
Well, I'm happy for you always. But I like that distinction, the difference between those 2, because there is no wrong way to celebrate. I think that it's a personality thing. I know that I tend to celebrate privately or, like, with my husband. We're, like, the same person, so that doesn't count. But so for me, I try to challenge myself to celebrate publicly because I think that I recognize the power in celebrating publicly with other people. It's almost like it's like history is written and people are reading it. They're acknowledging that this happened. It's
Yes.
real because outside of me, other people see it. And so I do like, I guess it depends on what I'm celebrating. Because I know that, so, and again, I talk about this, I have talked about this for years with clients. But, marking those milestones down, I like to do it ahead of time so that you can be like, I'm celebrating this. But even if you were to say, you know what, I'm going to think back in the last 6 months and I'm going to write down everything I've done or I've accomplished as a milestone, as a timeline of my success so far. Or, it does, going to TikTok, you can do silly videos that, like, those videos when people like have music and then they just point to stuff on the screen, like words
Yep.
pop up.
Yep.
Do that, put it in your drafts or share it, but just be like, I did this and I did this and I did this. Journal it, whether it's a video or it's in a journal, where you're like, what did I do this month that I think is worth celebrating? And then celebration can be reaching out to your friends and your connections through Go Getter Gals, or your mom or your best
Yes.
friend. Or it could be, I'm gonna book a trip. I'm gonna go take a vacation. Celebration looks different for everyone, and there's no wrong way to celebrate. The only wrong way to celebrate is to not celebrate. It can be, I did that, to yourself in a quiet room in isolation, or it can be a video, or it can be going on vacation or whatever. And celebration doesn't mean that you're a perfect person. It means you accomplished something. And to go back through that list, you accomplished something that was courageous. It was healing. It was challenging, and it pushed you to grow yourself. Any of those things, that counts. You should celebrate it in any way that you feel comfortable. I encourage everyone to do it publicly in some way, even if you're just texting your mom.
Yes. And accept the acknowledgement. So we're going to talk, I think we need to take a second and talk about validation and genuine support.
Yeah.
I have had issues with sharing what I'm doing for validation because, again, I had very low self-esteem and I still struggle
Mhm.
with it from time to time. So please understand, I do not have it all figured out. I am not some superhero by no means. But we do need to get some pink and purple capes. I think that would be fun. But anyways, side note, um, I really want you to ask yourself when you're sharing something that you have done, are you sharing it because you need it validated? You need it to be, you need someone else to know that you did this so that way it feels real? Or are you sharing it for support of, hey, I did this and I just need to share it with you so that way I can support you and you can support me and we can grow each other together because I just raised the bar. Let's raise it again and let's raise it again, kind of thing. Or I just really want you to ask yourself, like, why are you sharing what you're sharing? Because if you're sharing it, like, validation is good. Validation isn't negative. But the way I was doing it was negative because I needed
Yeah.
someone else to tell me I was doing a good job for me to feel like I was doing a good job. It's
Well,
like,
and I'm
whoa.
glad you specified that, because I personally don't think there's anything wrong with seeking validation. And I do think that if the only reason you're seeking validation is like what you said, where you're like, I don't feel like I'm a success unless someone else tells me I am,
Mm-hmm.
now that's negative. But I also know that, like, if that's the only place you can show up right now, then show up like that. If that's the only way you can celebrate your wins right now is because you need someone to be like, wow, you're a rock star. Wow, that's amazing. I wish I could do that. If you want someone to give you that type of validation, eventually you'll stop seeking it because you'll get it. And eventually celebration will turn into something that, instead of uh, having other people tell you that you're valuable, you're building your own value in self-trust and confidence. And you know, I think that, I don't know. Okay. There's so many ways or so many reasons why celebration is important. You did the acknowledgement and the validation, but I always want to go back to, I mentioned scheduling a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I even bring that up, because that's one of the most popular ways that my clients celebrate their wins, is by scheduling a vacation. And that is to prevent burnout, to identify end of a chapter. You have succeeded at this thing. Now let's start the next chapter, or even just reinforcing, celebrating reinforces progress during difficult seasons. Like, this is hard. What I'm doing right now is so hard, but I'm going to celebrate what I have achieved to really reinforce that this is a difficult season and it's worth celebrating that I'm getting through it.
Yes. And it also gives you something to look forward to and hold on to.
Yeah.
Me and my husband, I love that you're sharing this, because me and my husband yesterday, like, I felt defeated yesterday. I'm just going to share it. I have been having some issues with my health when it comes to vitamins and stuff like that. And I have been in the stress of my husband not being here. And we haven't been separated. Like, we've been together for 17 years, going on 17 years. Will be March, like in a week. And I told him, I said, can we, or I didn't tell him, I asked him, I said, can we book a vacation for the end of this? Like, can we just celebrate that we survived it? And, 6 months or whatever, even if it's something small, depending on where we're at, we're going to do a resort somewhere close to there. So then we can just go breathe and relax. It's going to be just me and just him. And I think that's vitally important. And I'm not even looking at the price tag at this point, because I know that we need that. Now, of course, we have to pay attention to that stuff from time to time. So please understand, I'm not telling you to go max out a credit card and go on vacation. But I think you need to give yourself permission to just be you in a space, or you and your significant other if you're married, or you and your girlfriends. Like, we need to do a girlfriend trip, Hannah. Like, most definitely that needs to be in 2020, the end of 2026 needs to be on the calendar.
A go-getter gals girls trip.
Yes, we do. We do. I vote the Smoky Mountains because that'd be so cool in the winter. But anyways, so with all that being said, you're right. And we need to give ourselves permission, and we need to vacations, whether that's a day away, a spa day, a nail day. Like, we need that. We, as women, we need that.
100%. And also, the last thing that I'll mention, because I think it is so important when we talk about why you should celebrate. What we talked about: confidence, we talked about validation, acknowledgement, preventing burnout, reinforcing that you are making progress even in difficult seasons. But one thing that I feel like you've hinted at already that I'm going to just reinforce is that when one woman shares her win, it gives permission to other people and other women to name their wins. And that's something that we do at Go Getter Gals at the beginning of meetings. We're like, hey, everyone share a win. And even if one of those wins is, I made it to the meeting this month.
Yes.
Like, that's it. It doesn't have to be massive, but we do celebrate everyone's wins. And when one person says it, other people are like, ooh, that gives me permission. I can talk about mine too.
Yes. No, you're right. And I'm going to start crying because you brought up something so good. So good. Because there's something else we do. When a lady says, I just made it to the meeting. Or there was another lady at the last meeting, or the meeting before that said something along the lines of, I'm alive.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here and I'm like, and what do we do, Hannah? What do we do in those situations? We're like, woo!
Yeah, we celebrate, because that's what they do. It is a celebration that you're alive. It is a celebration that you were able to prioritize, a couple of hours this month to connect with women. It is a celebration. And, sometimes it's a scream and sometimes it's a hug, but we do celebrate everybody when they come and give us a reason to celebrate.
Yes, yes. Here, I think we can end it here, but let's
Mhm.
like do the call to actions. Like, this is some things that I want you to tell yourself and give your permission to do. First off, you don't need permission to celebrate yourself. Like, I want you to take that away, and I want you to tell yourself that I, Pam Barnes, do not need permission to celebrate myself. Wins don't have to be loud to be real. Miss Hannah, you talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go through a couple more?
Yeah, you're just, summarizing what we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need permission to celebrate yourself. Your wins don't have to be loud and public. They can be personal. It can be quiet. You don't have to shrink your success down so that you can belong or fit in or be palatable to other people. And you grow faster when you're not alone. And in order to be not alone and to grow, you do have to celebrate your wins with people. You do need to text people. You need to show up when people are gathering. And I always bring up Go Getter Gals because this is the Go Getter Gals podcast. But there are so many other places where you can build communities where you just show up. Church, school, chambers of commerce, or book clubs, or wherever you are showing up in a community. That's where you can show up and grow with people.
Yes. And another one is the gaming community.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do board games. You can do role-playing games. You can do, whatever. I play Pokemon with some people locally with my son. So anything and everything you can do to be part of that community. Like, I'll have the Pokemon community. It's so funny because they'll see me out in town, or they'll see me at Pokemon and they're like, I saw you on TV, or, oh my gosh, I saw your video the other day. Look at you. Like, woo, high five, So like that.
Yes. And you get that. See, you didn't even have to bring up, hey, I want to celebrate that I did an interview on the news. People who you are associating with, who are a part of your life, they will find you and celebrate you unprovoked. You don't have to tell them you did something. They'll just be like, I think you're amazing. I see what you're doing. You're a rock star. And again, that's why, you need to have groups. Go Getter Gals is one, but there's a lot of online groups that you could be a part of.
Mhm.
But just find a group of people that you have something in common with, whether it's your gender or your business industry or your hobbies, and just show up for that group of people and let them show up for you.
I think that's the perfect way to end it. Lovely lady.
Hey, gals. Thank you for listening to the Go Getter Gal podcast. All of the information for this episode can be found in the show notes. Make sure that you go and like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, as well as subscribe to us on YouTube. And to find the latest episodes of the Go Getter Gal podcast, you can visit our website at go-gettergals.com. See you next time.